The smell of coffee is in the air. It must be time for another episode of The Art of Struggle. Welcome to another episode of my podcast called The Art of Struggle. You can hear me rant about art, video games, movies, pop culture, CGI, the industry, and much, much more. My name is Fatai, and I'll be your guide as we explore the world of CG, pop culture, and the people who make it all possible. All right, let's do this. It seems we've got to deliver some sad news today. Stan Lee has passed away. Stan Lee, an influential player in the rise of Marvel Comics and one of the minds behind many iconic superheroes like Spider-Man and the X-Men, has passed away at the age of 95. Lee got his start in comics in 1939, first as an assistant and later as a writer. He would go on to serve as the editor-in-chief and later publisher of Marvel Comics, alongside the likes of Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko. Lee created many of the Marvel series that have become pop culture mainstays today, including franchises like Iron Man, Thor, Black Panther, Daredevil, and the Hulk. Several of his creations have been adapted from other forms of media, with the most notable being the ongoing Marvel Cinematic Universe under Disney-owned Marvel Studios. Even before then, Lee saw many of his creations brought to video games through titles like Ultimate Spider-Man, X-Men Legends, Marvel Ultimate Alliance, and the Marvel vs. Capcom series. Lee himself appeared in some of those projects, notably providing narration for the PlayStation 1 era games Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2. Enter Electro, as well as 2010 Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions. Most recently, Lee made cameos in Insomniac Games' Spider-Man, where he plays the role of a cook modeled in his likeness and shares some words of encouragement with the game's leading characters. So this is a very sad day. It's sad news because, he's responsible for a lot of people's childhoods. He is like a good percentage of the population, of Western population. He's responsible for their childhood, characters. I've been watching Spider-Man since I can't even remember. I'm pretty sure like that's one of the first cartoons I was, watching. I've been reading the comics for a very long time. Punisher, Black Panther, Iron Man. It's just so shocking that, I don't know, it just felt like he was gonna be around for a little longer, even though it's crazy because he's 95, he's 95 years old. So it's interesting that, you just saw him, like he was just like such a regular mainstay that you just thought, oh, okay, he's going to be here. He's, but he's passed. And, I was running across the internet and just looking at different articles, and I ran across this one article that, written by a guy named Jason Johnson, and he's at The Roots, and the title of the article is How Stan Lee, creator of Black Panther, taught a generation of black nerds about race, art, and activism. And at first, I kind of misread the title. I thought he was saying that Stan Lee was teaching us about Black culture and all this stuff. And I was like, I don't know, that's a very, that's a bit of a stretch. But upon diving into the article and, diving into some of the different sources, I find out that, Stan Lee was, he was an activist. He had a lot of beliefs for equality and how we should treat people, because I think he's an immigrant himself, or his parents are immigrants themselves. So he definitely has a different point of view than a lot of, and this is the time in the 60s where that kind of stuff wasn't really passe. Nobody was trying to read about no Black superheroes or nothing like that. And he was still putting Black characters in forefront in his comics. And, right now we have more, I don't want to say like it's that many, but we have a few more Black comic book, artists and comic book company owners who are trying to do something. But like, he did put activism and stuff like that in some of his stuff that made you kind of believe that, like, yeah, he was about it. He even wrote an op-ed in one of his comic book. It's called Stan's Soapbox, and what it is he's just talking about. He says, let's lay it right on the line. Bigotry and racism are among the deadliest social ills plaguing the world today. But unlike a team of costume supervillains, they can't be halted with a punch in the snoot or a zap from a ray gun. The only way to destroy them is to expose them, to reveal them for the insidious evils they really are. The bigot is an unreasoning hater, one who hates blindly, fanatically, indiscriminately. If his hang-up is Black men, he hates all Black men. If a redhead once offended him, he hates all redheads. If some foreigner beat him to a job, he's down on all foreigners. He hates people he's never seen, people he's never known, with equal intensity, with equal venom. Now we're not trying to say it's unreasonable for one human being to bug another. But although anyone has the right to dislike another individual, it's totally irrational, patently insane to condemn an entire race, to despise an entire nation, to vilify an entire religion. Sooner or later, we must learn to judge each other on our own merits. Sooner or later. If man is ever to be worthy of his destiny, we must fill our hearts with tolerance, for then and only then will we be truly worthy of the concept that man was created in the image of God, a God who calls us all his children. And if you think about some of his series, that's just one of his op-eds that he wrote and he put in his comics, so that everybody that's reading his comics, they're looking at this op-ed. I'm not saying but like, he's putting ideas like this. And this was written in the 60s. This was 1968, So we're still fresh from that era. This isn't like it's not like 2000s, even when it's more passe and people are, it's in the thick of it, So yeah, it's very interesting that this is his this is kind of some of the things that he's done over the years. And he even recently did a video that he put out on YouTube where he was just talking about how racism, hate, and bigotry has no place in America, no place in a civilized society. And man, it's surprising to see that he was doing all of this in the background, and he has these little messages that he's trying to throw out there for people. If you can catch it, he's putting ideas out there that weren't really mainstream at the time. Even thinking about like X-Men, how that played out. It's pretty much the apartheid struggle that happened in South Africa. So he kind of dives into that with Genosha, in the sense that Genosha is this apartheid state where, let's even look at the Wikipedia definition of it is, Genosha is a fictional country appearing in American comic books published by Marvel Comics. It is an island nation that exists in Marvel's main shared universe, known as Earth 616 in the Marvel Universe, and a prominent place in the X-Men chronology. The fictional nation served as an allegory for slavery and later for South African apartheid, before becoming a mutant homeland and subsequently a disaster zone. The island is located off the South African coast, northwest from the Sicilies and northeast of Madagascar. Its capital city was Hammer Bay. So that's just a little information about Genosha, which is this little apartheid state, which is an allegory for slavery and later the South African apartheid. And if you look at, just watch old school X-Men, when, Jubilee and all those guys, they're running from the Manhunters and stuff like that, you realize that it's harping back to when there were slave catchers and all these they were mutant catchers, and just, it's crazy that you think about it now and you don't think those are the little messages. And it's interesting that you're having white people play out these the struggles that African American people have faced throughout history, and it's pretty interesting. And so it's crazy that Stan Lee passed, and I wonder if Marvel is going to still have that same penchant for social issues, where they're going to throw social things into it, because this guy must have been really on his mind, because even if you think about it, the Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, those philosophies like that, are we going to integrate, or are we more of a nationalist party, in the sense of Charles Xavier and Magneto, where Charles Xavier was more of, let's integrate, let's do this, which was kind of like he was like Martin Luther King, and Magneto was more the Malcolm, he was like, yo, let's burn this motherfucker down and let's go. Let's get our own stuff. Let's leave this. Let's do our own thing, And that kind of plays out. And you're having mainstream America, read about these things that they normally wouldn't care about. But now you're putting it in a comic book. You're putting it in a way that they're going to digest. So these little kids, these little impressionable minds are growing up with these ideas. I would have loved if they were black characters, but shit, I'll take it where I can get it at this point. But yeah, it's interesting, and it's sad that Stan Lee passed, and I hope that Marvel Universe isn't gonna fall prey to, we lose the brains, the mastermind, and we're just gonna start putting out garbage and stuff like that. So man, it's sad. This guy, he shaped my childhood. Black Panther, I'm rocking. This is a sad day for me, and I pray for his family, and this is just sad. Yeah. Well, check out the footage that I have. It's pretty much just Stan Lee giving us a decent message. Hopefully you liked. I've been playing all the cameos of Stan Lee. Hope you guys dug that. He's a remarkable individual. His mind was awesome. He believed in your own power and doing what you loved, and that's all you can ask for, man. So, R.I.P. Stan. Stan the man.
Hi, heroes. This is Stan Lee coming at you. Want you to know, Marvel has always been and always will be a reflection of the world right outside our window. That world may change and evolve, but the one thing that will never change is the way we tell our stories of heroism. Those stories have room for everyone, regardless of their race, gender, religion, or color of their skin. The only things we don't have room for are hatred, intolerance, and bigotry. That man next to you, he's your brother. That woman over there, she's your sister. And that kid walking by, hey, who knows? He may have the proportionate strength of a spider. We're all part of one big family, the human family, and we all come together in the body of Marvel. And you're part of that family. You're part of the Marvel universe that moves ever upward and onward to greater glory. In other words, Excelsior!